02:43 a.m. Total silence above the Somali desert. 5 U.S. Air Force B-2 Spirit stealth bombers glide through the darkness, invisible to radar, unseen by anyone on the ground. Below them, carved into the side of a mountain, lies one of the largest militant command centers in East Africa. Inside, hundreds sleep, unaware that their world is about to end. 02:44 a.m. The earth moves. A blinding flash lights the sky. Within seconds, an entire mountain collapses inward. This is Operation Silent Echo. Stay until the end to learn how this single U.S. strike reshaped global air warfare. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. It helps this channel grow. By early 2024, East Africa had become one of the world's most unstable regions. Somalia, long torn by civil conflict, faced a dangerous new problem. A militant coalition stronger, richer, and more organized than anything before. They called themselves the Black Banner Front, an alliance of warlords and extremist groups spreading across the Horn of Africa. Their fighters moved through mountains, deserts, and coastlines with ease. Their attacks had grown bolder, but the real danger wasn't what they did. It was where they hid. Deep in northern Somalia, near the Galgala mountain range, U.S. intelligence began detecting strange patterns. Drones flying overhead picked up heat signatures that didn't fit local terrain. Satellite radar showed signs of underground construction, long tunnels, ventilation shafts, and hidden supply entrances carved into the rock. American analysts realized what it meant. The militants had built a fortified underground base, buried beneath a mountain. It was more than a camp. It was a command center. Reports from the CIA and AFRICOM confirmed it. The mountain complex housed weapons caches, command officers, and foreign trainers linked to several global terror networks. It was protected by heavy anti-aircraft guns, short-range missiles, and hundreds of fighters. Direct ground assault was impossible. Every approach route was mined, and every path was covered by snipers and traps. In January 2024, the Pentagon classified the site as Target Ridge. The question then was simple. How do you destroy a fortress hidden inside a mountain? There was only one answer: the B-2 Spirit. No aircraft in the world could do what the B-2 could. With a range of over 6,000 nautical miles and radar invisibility, it could fly from the continental U.S. to Africa and strike with perfect precision, and no one would even know it was coming. Thus began Operation Silent Echo, one of the most secretive missions in recent U.S. Air Force history. Planning started inside a secure facility at Whiteman Air Force Base, Missouri, home of the B-2 fleet. A joint team of USAF Global Strike Command, U.S. Navy Reconnaissance, and CIA analysts spent weeks designing the perfect strike plan. Every second of flight, every radar sweep, and every satellite feed was mapped. Even the timing of refueling operations mid-air was calculated down to the minute. The target was deep, nearly 200 feet of rock above the bunker's main chamber. Ordinary bombs wouldn't even scratch it. That's why the U.S. Air Force selected the GBU-57A-B massive ordnance penetrator, known as the MOP, the most powerful non-nuclear bomb in American service. Each weighed 30,000 pounds, designed to dig through reinforced concrete and explode underground. The B-2 could carry 2 of them. The plan called for 5 bombers, loaded and launched in sequence. Together, they would release a total of 10 MOPs, enough destructive power to crush the entire mountain. But this mission wasn't only about firepower, it was about precision and silence. Somalia's air defenses were weak but unpredictable. Old Soviet-era radar systems still operated near the coast. Russian mercenaries had supplied the militants with radar-guided surface-to-air missiles. The U.S. had to be invisible, both electronically and physically. To make that possible, a U.S. Navy carrier strike group was stationed in the northern Indian Ocean. Navy aircraft from that group provided radar coverage, drone support, and satellite data relay. Special cyber teams launched digital attacks hours before the bombers even approached, jamming communications and cutting off the militants from outside contact. Back in the U.S., pilots prepared for what could be a 30-hour round trip. They trained in simulators for night navigation, GPS denial, and zero radio operations. Every system on the B-2 was checked and rechecked. Then came the final green light, direct authorization from the president. At 18 hours local time, 5 B-2 Spirits lifted off under radio silence. Their destination, a patch of desert no one on the ground even knew existed. Their mission, to erase Target Ridge from the map. For the next 8 hours, they flew low, silent and invisible, across oceans, over Africa's coast, and finally toward the mountains of northern Somalia. At 02:40 a.m., the bombers entered attack formation. Below them, Target Ridge lay hidden under layers of rock. At 02:43 a.m., the world's most advanced stealth bombers prepared to strike. At 02:45 a.m., the silence above northern Somalia broke, but no one on the ground heard a thing. The 5 B-2 Spirits, invisible on radar and silent in the sky, had reached their release point. Each aircraft flew in perfect formation, 40,000 feet above the desert. Below them, a vast mountain range hid the militants' secret fortress. Inside that mountain, fighters slept, guards patrolled, and generators hummed. They believed they were safe. They were wrong. The first bomber, call sign Reaper 1, confirmed target lock. Its sensors used synthetic aperture radar and infrared imaging to identify the bunker entrances and underground tunnel vents. Once the system confirmed the heat signatures, the pilot's display flashed green. The voice of the weapons officer was calm and steady. Reaper 1, Target Ridge confirmed. Releasing in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. At 02:47 a.m., 2 massive ordnance penetrators dropped silently from the bomb bay. Each bomb, weighing more than 10 tons, sliced through the thin air, accelerating toward the desert floor at nearly 800 miles per hour. For almost 40 seconds, nothing happened. Then, the first impact. The mountain shook like an earthquake. A bright orange flash lit the night sky, followed by a deep rolling thunder that echoed for miles. Dust clouds billowed into the air, reaching thousands of feet high. But before they could settle, the second wave was already coming. Reaper 2, release confirmed. Reaper 3, bombs away. Between 02:47 and 02:49, all 5 B-2 bombers released their payloads, 10 MOPs in total. The precision was terrifying. Each one hit within meters of its target coordinates. The bombs dug deep, some over 60 meters underground, before detonating. The force of the explosions collapsed entire sections of the mountain, crushing bunkers, tunnels, and weapon depots buried within. On the ground, militants stumbled out of their shelters, confused and terrified. Some fired their rifles blindly into the dark sky, thinking they were under drone attack. But there was nothing to see. No sound, no plane, no light. Only distant rumbling and flashes along the ridgeline. At 02:51 a.m., a massive secondary explosion erupted, likely ammunition or fuel storage detonating underground. The blast ripped through the remaining tunnels, igniting everything inside. Fire erupted from cracks in the rock, glowing red against the night. The mountain itself seemed alive, splitting open as fire and debris shot hundreds of feet upward. From orbit, U.S. satellites captured the moment. The entire ridge line lit up in infrared, heat blooming across the terrain like a volcanic eruption. The command room at AFRICOM headquarters in Stuttgart, Germany, fell silent as the data streamed in. Within minutes, confirmation came. The target was gone. At 02:55 a.m., the bombers began their return flight. They had been over target airspace for less than 10 minutes. Their mission was complete. Not a single radar in Somalia, Yemen, or Eritrea had detected them. Not a single missile had been launched. On the ground, chaos reigned. The militants' communications were destroyed. Their command structure wiped out. Rescue teams tried to dig through the rubble, but the heat was too intense. Drone footage taken at sunrise showed what remained: a scorched plateau, smoke rising from deep craters, and not a single structure left standing. By 08 a.m., local villagers miles away reported the blast as a mountain of fire. Somali media began circulating rumors of a massive explosion in the north. Some said it was a meteor strike. Others claimed it was a secret government attack. No one knew the truth. Meanwhile, the 5 B-2s were already halfway home, crossing over the Red Sea, refueling in the air with KC-135 Stratotankers, and continuing toward the Atlantic. They maintained full radio silence until they reached U.S. airspace. At Whiteman Air Force Base, crews waited in silence as the black silhouettes of the bombers appeared through the morning haze. When the first aircraft touched down at 13:10 local time, the mission clock read 31 hours, 24 minutes. It was one of the longest, non-stop bomber flights in modern U.S. history. The pilots climbed out exhausted but silent. They knew they had just changed the map of Somalia. Hours later, Pentagon officials received final intelligence confirmation. Satellite sweeps found no signs of movement at Target Ridge. Intercepted radio traffic from militant channels confirmed massive losses. Commanders, foreign advisors, and senior figures of the Black Banner Front were gone. The mountain, once a fortress, was now just dust. The U.S. had sent a message without saying a word. To understand what happened that night, we need to look deeper into the machines, the weapons, and the science that made it possible. The B-2 Spirit stealth bomber is not just another aircraft. It is one of the most advanced war machines ever built by the United States. Designed during the Cold War and produced by Northrop Grumman, the B-2 can strike anywhere on Earth, from U.S. soil, without being detected. Only 21 units were ever made, and each one costs over $2 billion. The B-2's greatest strength is invisibility. It uses stealth technology, which means it avoids radar detection not by jamming or fighting signals, but by never appearing at all. Its unique flying wing shape reflects radar waves away instead of back to the source. The plane's surface is coated with radar-absorbing material, and even its engines are buried deep inside the body to hide their heat signature. To radar operators, it looks like an insect, or nothing at all. That night over Somalia, the 5 bombers flew from Whiteman Air Force Base, Missouri, across the Atlantic Ocean, through European air corridors, down over the Mediterranean, and across the Red Sea, a flight path stretching more than 6,000 miles one way. The entire mission relied on precision and coordination. Airborne refueling tankers met the B-2s midair 3 times, once over the Atlantic, once near Italy, and once again near Djibouti, to keep them flying non-stop. But the real power of this mission lay not in the aircraft, but in what they carried. The bomb used in this strike was the GBU-57A-B massive ordnance penetrator, the most powerful non-nuclear bomb in U.S. history. Built by Boeing, it is designed to destroy deep underground bunkers, tunnels, and command centers. It weighs 30,000 pounds, or about the same as a school bus. The bomb's steel casing allows it to punch through 200 feet of concrete or 60 feet of. Several are dropped in sequence. The results are devastating. Mountains crumble, bunkers implode, and underground chambers become tombs. Each B-2 can carry 2 MOPs at once, mounted inside its bomb bay. The guidance system uses GPS coordinates accurate within a few meters, allowing pilots to hit targets from tens of thousands of feet up. The system does not rely on visuals. It can strike through clouds, dust, or darkness. To locate the Somali mountain target, U.S. intelligence relied on multiple data streams. Satellite imagery from KH-11 reconnaissance satellites revealed construction activity in the desert region months before. Drones, like the MQ-9 Reaper, provided live surveillance, tracking vehicles and human movement into the area. Intercepted radio communications confirmed the site as a major operations hub for a militant group linked to both al-Shabaab and foreign advisors from North Korea and Iran. Once confirmed, U.S. Africa Command, known as AFRICOM, planned Operation Silent Echo. It was designed for speed, secrecy, and precision. Even partner nations were not informed until after the strike. The order came directly from U.S. Strategic Command, STRATCOM, approved by the National Security Council. During the flight, each B-2 operated in total radio silence, using encrypted data links to coordinate formation and timing. The stealth systems continuously adjusted flight surfaces to minimize radar visibility. At cruising altitude, the aircraft consumed fuel at nearly 4 gallons per mile, but aerial refueling allowed it to remain in the air for over 30 hours. Navigation was handled by an advanced inertial navigation system, supported by GPS updates from space-based signals. Even if communications were jammed, the bomber could still find its target using internal gyroscopes and terrain mapping. For target verification, the B-2's onboard AN/APQ-181 radar system scanned the terrain in fine detail. Combined with real-time satellite updates, this allowed the pilots to confirm every coordinate before release. When the green light appeared on the screen, it meant everything was aligned: altitude, speed, angle, and target distance. Each release was timed to milliseconds. When the bombs dropped, the aircraft's onboard systems compensated instantly for weight shift, keeping balance as the payload fell away. Strike also demonstrated the U.S. military's global strike command strategy, the ability to hit any target on Earth in hours, not days. It proved that even in remote, rugged terrain like Somalia, no bunker was beyond reach. The operation cost an estimated $200 million, including flight hours, fuel, and weapon use. But the Pentagon called it a bargain, because the entire command network of a major militant organization was destroyed in less than 10 minutes. When journalists later asked how the mountain was found or how deep the bunkers were, officials refused to give details, but one general simply said, "We knew exactly where they were. We knew exactly when to strike. And we knew they'd never see us coming." This mission wasn't just about destroying a target. It was about showing the world that U.S. stealth technology could erase a threat anywhere, without warning, without risk, and without leaving a trace. By dawn, the scale of the strike was clear. The mountain that had hidden a major militant command center was a ruin. Craters scarred the ridge. Tunnels and bunkers had collapsed. Smoke rose from deep holes that glowed hot for hours. Satellite images showed the damage. Seismographs in nearby countries picked up the blast. The data matched what the B-2 crews had reported. Officials tallied the toll. Intelligence estimated more than 200 militants neutralized. Several high-value leaders were among them. Weapons stockpiles, fuel stores, and communication hubs were destroyed. The command network that linked local cells across the region was shattered. Navy and AFRICOM analysts called it a decisive blow to the Black Banner Front. There were no U.S. casualties, no aircraft losses. The 5 B-2s returned home safe after the longest non-stop mission in recent years. Carrier strike group assets in the Indian Ocean reported no hostile response. Naval drones and ships provided real-time relay and recovery support. Their role had been critical, but quiet. The cost was high in money. Analysts estimated the mission at roughly $200 million. That covered flight hours, refueling, munitions, and support. For Pentagon planners, the price was worth the result. They had removed a threat that could have grown into a regional powerhouse. They had also prevented future attacks planned from that mountain. News of the strike moved fast. Somali officials asked for calm and control. Neighboring states demanded briefings. Washington released a short statement. The U.S. had acted to eliminate an imminent threat to regional security. No detailed public account followed. The Pentagon limited what it would confirm about targets or casualties. Secrecy remained part of the strategy. The strike had wider effects. Militants across the region went silent for weeks. Recruitment slowed. Money flows to extremist groups dropped as donors questioned safety. Military planners in several African capitals changed patrol patterns and hardened key sites. Private contractors and aid agencies rerouted convoys for a time. The shock of a mountain leveled in minutes sent a clear message. Intelligence gains were significant. After-action analysis recovered data from destroyed servers and intercepted communications. Analysts learned names, routes, and foreign links. Evidence suggested outside advisors had been helping the militants. Those leads launched a series of smaller operations that followed in the weeks after Silent Echo. That follow-up work kept pressure on the network and prevented it from regrouping quickly. There were critics, too. Some argued the strike risked civilian harm or destabilized local politics. International human rights groups called for independent investigations. U.S. officials insisted on accuracy checks before action and said they took care to avoid non-combatant casualties. They pointed to the scale of the underground complex and the presence of armed fighters as justification. In military terms, Operation Silent Echo achieved its goals. It destroyed a hardened center, removed leaders, and disrupted a growing terror network. It also demonstrated reach, the ability to strike deep in remote terrain with surgical force. The mission shifted the strategic balance in the region and forced adversaries to reconsider how and where they hide. For the crews and analysts involved, the outcome was sober. They had used overwhelming power to prevent future bloodshed. They had shown that, when needed, U.S. forces can find, fix, and finish a threat anywhere on the globe. In the calm after the strike, the silence was heavy. The desert winds swept over what was once a fortress, now a flat, burned ridge. Nothing moved. Nothing grew. For U.S. commanders watching the satellite feed, the image was both a victory and a reminder of the burden that comes with power. Operation Silent Echo was over, but the message it sent would echo for years. It wasn't just about destroying a mountain or wiping out a militant base. It was about proving a concept that American air power can reach anywhere, at any time, with absolute precision. No borders, no warnings, no mistakes. The B-2 Spirit had once again proven why it remains the crown jewel of U.S. deterrence. Built in the 1980s for a nuclear standoff that never came, it now serves as a silent guardian for the modern era, a machine that can end wars before they begin. Its pilots, trained for stealth and endurance, represent a generation of warriors who fight from the sky, guided by intelligence, technology, and trust. But behind every strike, there are questions. How much power is too much? How far can a nation go to stop a threat before it appears? These are questions that never fade. Silent Echo showed what precision warfare looks like. Clean, fast, and unseen. Yet it also showed how easily destruction can erase entire landscapes in moments. For Somalia, the strike left both shock and relief. The militant network was gone, but the memory of fire in the mountains remained. For the U.S. military, it reinforced confidence in global strike capability, the idea that no threat is out of reach. For the rest of the world, it was a warning. In an age of drones, cyber war, and long-range missiles, the B-2's shadow still matters. Because in the quiet hours before dawn, when the world sleeps, it can rise unseen. And by the time the target knows it's coming, it's already over. That is the power of stealth. That is the legacy of Operation Silent Echo. The world never saw it coming, and that's exactly how the U.S. wanted it.